Hello out there, wherever you are on our planet. My name is Uche Onyebadi, and this forum is called Cross-Cultural Experiences, where we talk to my guest, who is from somewhere and would have traveled to another place that is quite different from his or her own cultural origin. The whole idea is to say, oh, what experience did you have in that place, and what did you learn from it? So that's simple. Because our world is gradually becoming one, and people cross cultures all the time. Some people are ready for it, some people are not ready for it, and therefore they have this different kind of experience. So I have a guest today who is closely associated with a country called Croatia. And you see this? He brought me this all the way from Croatia. And he knows I like soccer. And I know that Croatia, came second during the, I think, 2018 World Cup. And I like two prominent Croatian players, Luka Modric, who currently plays for Real Madrid, and Davor Suker, who I think in 1998 won the Golden Boot. Okay, this is not about soccer. Let's get back to business. My friend Robert, I welcome you to this forum. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Mr. Uche. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. Yeah. Can you tell us briefly about yourself, and then we can continue?
Yes, my name is Robert. I come from which used to be former Yugoslavia, which now it's different states. You have Bosnia, Croatia, Serbia, and the other countries that came out of it during the war for independence back in the 90s. So like I immigrated to United States in 1997, I believe. So after the war, so it's been a while, and graduated from UTA as even forgot what the major was. Like it's been so long. Yeah, like international business degree, and been owner of automotive business for past 24 years. And that's how I met Mr. Uche.
All right, that's exactly how we met in the course of business.
Exactly. So like still doing the same thing 24 years later.
Correct. I know that you like traveling and you've visited quite a number of places. Can you share at least one or two experiences, and then especially what did you learn from that experience? And we go on.
Yeah, I mean, I love traveling. I love showing the world to my family, my kids. So, like hopefully they will remember some of those travels. So I've been to quite a few countries, but some are more memorable than the other ones, especially on the cultural differences. Probably one of the more that was maybe more culture shock to me than any other ones was probably the trip to Cuba.
Cuba?
Yeah.
Was Fidel Castro alive that time?
I can't remember if he was alive. That's when during the Obama presidency administration. No. So probably not. Like so I think that's where the relations were a little bit better, and we were allowed to travel to Cuba. So I just took the opportunity to go and visit because I wasn't sure how long this is going to last.
Yeah.
Before things change up again. So that's one trip that I remember like more than the other ones.
So what sticks in your mind about that trip?
Mainly because I felt, sometimes you look up, places, things to do and those kind of things, and pictures sometimes show one part of, way of life there. So I felt I wasn't really prepared for the whole trip because we kind of went, got Airbnb. Just expected it to be a little bit more like I don't know, like easier to gain access to just basic needs like water and things like that, because I know it's island and I'd want to drink tap water there because I had that experience once before where you get really sick, and just didn't want to have tap water. So when we landed like there, like it was pretty late at night, and as as we made it to the Airbnb, like like the infrastructure and everything looked like kind of looks a little spooky, because we went to Havana
Right.
and it just didn't look safe at all. Like everything looks behind the bars, like, and all that. Like, so we got there pretty late to our Airbnb and asked the host, like, hey, we're super hungry. Is it safe for us to go this hour, eat anything? And she kind of had a laugh about it. She goes like, just go anytime, anywhere you won't have a hair be missing on your head. And
Yeah.
we find a restaurant that night that we went to eat, but like, you want to go explore and all that. So next day, like, we're all just going down the streets and all that. And you hope that you can walk in a convenience store and find, bottled water. Well, that
Right.
was not the case. Like, just,
Okay.
yeah, like, literally for like a couple days, we couldn't find any water at all. So what you subsidize, it's like, beer. Like, so like, you have beer and it's hot and all that. So by 2, 3 o'clock, of course, you get a little buzzed, and we get approached, so tourists mainly there all the time, like, for people trying to sell you things. And, like this guy approaches, goes like, hey, you want to buy some cigars? And
Okay. At least they had cigars
exactly.
in Havana.
Exactly. So like that's exactly. So like I'm not into like I don't smoke. I really have no idea nothing about cigars. So like neither my brother-in-law like, but he know a little bit more about it. And we thought it was like gonna be like a corner store where we just go like buy some
Right.
cigars from me. Like okay, like we'll follow you. Well, after a good 30-minute walk, we get to this section in Havana where like literally looked like a Berlin of 1945. Like
Wow.
literally, yeah, buildings crumbled. It's just like it complete different world. You have like Havana where all the tourists are and the cruise ships come in and it looks fine, but then there's another part of it that just looked completely crumbled. Like and us already being a little bit tipsy because we couldn't find any water to drink, had to drink something, so we walk into this building, with this guy like like couple stairs up, like the building looks literally about to cave in. So walk in this one room and I guess they were selling the cigars illegally,
Oh,
because it's like you know not legal for them to sell it, because I guess the whole government regulations and everything.
yeah.
So I walk in this room and it's like 3, 4 big guys just standing there, like, and it's like, oh my God, what kind of trouble we're getting ourselves in here. Like, so they cut this couch up and, give us cigars. So we buy them. I don't know, tell my brother, well, you just get out of here before, like, some bad thing happens. But
Right.
nothing bad happened, just them of way doing business, like, you were used to
Yeah.
go here in the store and just buy stuff normally and you get receipt and all that. And over there, because of all the restrictions and everything else, like that was not the case. So it
Right.
was completely different way of buying stuff, like, so the lady, the host, she was completely right about like not, nothing ever happened to us, even sometimes you put yourself in bad situations.
Right.
That's what we felt, but it was totally fine. It was just their way of doing business, I guess, like,
Right. I interviewed, had a conversation with another person on, this forum who had the same experience. You're going into a new place and then your mind is, heart is beating. Boom, boom, boom. Then you say, am
yeah.
I safe? And then suddenly you discover that maybe that's just the way they're doing things.
Yeah, it was totally safe. I mean,
Yeah.
the guys were nice, but it was in just different way. It's intimidating, because like you used
Yes.
to, here you just go to store and you get things off your shelf
And then you go
and
away.
you pay and that's fine, like, but especially with their sons, like they don't have really, you can, play your cards. There's lack of ATM machines, like, and they have what they call a tourist dollar.
Yeah.
So like, you have to transfer your American dollars to tourist dollars.
Dollars. Okay.
You cannot spend any other money. Like they have their money, but that's not for tourists. So like, we're buying those cigars, of course they wanted US dollar because, I guess carries more value for them.
Okay.
So like you're a little bit like apprehensions, like, hey, we're here in those ruins, things can happen to you. and nobody's gonna be missing you, but
Okay, okay. I don't want to
it went
ask
fine.
you, I don't want to ask you what happened with the combination of being tipsy and then having a cigar. I don't want to go there. What other experience did you have in another place? Is anyone that comes to your mind outside of Cuba that we can
Um,
briefly talk about?
uh, my other experience was actually here in the States,
Okay.
and it was it's just, it's like, it's just different. It's a little bit tied to American gun culture, I would say, probably. Where, I lived in a house for, 15 years, and you kind of see your neighbors, say hi and bye, but really never visit each other, which is completely different than from back home.
From back
Like,
home, okay.
yeah, like back home, your neighbors, like, really big part of your life,
Right, yeah.
you visit each other, you have coffee together, it's a big deal. Like, your neighbors, you're like your family, and here for me was like a little strange to have wooden fences that you don't see your neighbor, the whole privacy aspect of
Okay.
the cultural thing, which we don't have that. Like our fences are small, like 2, 3 feet tall, and they're like
Yeah.
either metal, see-through metal, or something like that, if you do have any. Um, so that was the whole thing. So after 15 years, my fence just decided to give out, and I was about to replace it.
Yeah.
So I was replacing. I had some friends over, and you throw a little barbecue and all that, and we're fixing the fence. So my neighbor next door that I've been knowing forever, like saying hi to each other, decides to come over and introduce himself, but he had his gun strapped to his, hip.
Say it again. Say it again. His gun was strapped
Yeah, he had a gun strapped to his hip, in which I found.
to come and say
Yeah,
hello.
yeah, because I took the fence down,
Yeah.
and between him and me, just put new fence. I even checked with him prior to that
Right.
to make sure that, I'm like, hey, you have some dogs, if you can put them up, the thing was Saturday or Sunday, one weekend. I was like, I'm gonna just take the fence down and put it up. So
Feedback. Okay.
and put it back exactly, So he came over just as a neighbor to introduce himself, all that, like just say hi. But found it really odd, that he had the gun strapped, to his waist. So I did ask him. I was like, hey, are you scared of me, or is just in general that you have some fear, or
Yeah.
why do you have the need to carry a gun with you when you go to your neighbor next door? It's and he really couldn't give me a good explanation, but I just found it really strange that it's such a big gun culture that some people either live in constant fear, or that's completely normal, to have a gun on your hip and just go to your neighbor next door. And it's like, that's for us, it's like, I don't know, it's a big shock.
It's a big shock.
That,
I'm sure in Bosnia, if a neighbor you have known for 15 good years walks across with a gun, you will say, what's wrong? What's going on here?
yeah, and he had good intention, just want to say hi, introduce
Yeah,
himself,
I understand. Yeah.
become, but it was, I don't know, it was just strange,
It was just
to,
their way of life. I mean, I
yeah.
can even guess that he didn't even notice that he had a gun. I mean, that was his way of life.
Probably, I felt, that's how I felt, like that he was just like, oh yeah,
I,
sorry, I didn't realize he was there, but
especially if he has a license to carry a gun,
yeah,
because you have a license, you can carry a gun here.
yeah, well, back home we did have, the whole war in the 90s, and everybody had guns and big guns, but when the war was over, everybody turned him over, and people don't like him, honestly, it's like, nobody wants to have any, because when I tell people back home, the story and the whole gun culture, everybody's kind of like, wow, that's such a burden, to, feel that kind of fear that you have to carry guns all the time with you,
Yeah. But
But
I'm
I
sure
think that was,
I guess I mean realized it was just part of the culture. You know, they have the gun
Yeah.
culture.
Well,
Right.
you know, like I mean, after you live somewhere long enough, the culture becomes part of you.
Part
You
of
know,
you,
and
okay.
you know, so like I understand that. You know, like I still, I mean, I do have a license and all that. You know, because of business owner and all that. You do
Okay.
understand that some circumstances, you know, that you know it's for protection. But it's still, to me, it still was strange going to the neighbor's house, you know, and you know, you know, have a
See,
gun, like you know, that
hi,
I felt
hi
was a little
neighbor,
extreme.
and then there's a gun.
Yeah, exactly. So that I felt it was a little bit too extreme, even you know, like even as much you understand the culture, you know, I felt that was a little bit like a, you know, too
Okay.
far,
All
you
right.
know.
Okay. From Cuba to the United States, all the way from Bosnia and what used to be Yugoslavia, have been
It used to be Yugoslavia.
Croatian. I mean, you're a man of so many parts. I
Yeah,
guess.
I did live. I didn't live in Austria. That's another funny story. Like you know, when the war broke out, I was 13. You know,
Yeah.
early 90s, and I got shipped off by myself to Austria to live with some relatives. And my parents were hoping it's just going to be a quick thing. You know, like I
Yeah.
can come back and all that. Well, you know, they didn't want to move to Austria. They didn't want me to be enrolled in school yet because it was just supposed to be a couple of weeks type deal. You
Right.
know, they just were
And
precautious.
it went on and
Yeah,
on and on and on and on.
yeah. Unfortunately, things went on like really quickly, escalated out of control. So like you're 13, 14-year-old kid. Like
Yeah.
and I was in Vienna and everything is a little bigger, newer, different. Than back
Yes.
home. So like I go into one of those supermarkets or not even supermarket, like let's say something like Best Buy, where they have all the
Right.
computers and all that.
Yes.
So I'll turn on the computer and find one of those video games, and it's about World War II. So I started playing till I didn't realize, the laws there, like where apparently the game has like a lot of Nazi,
Okay.
emblems, swastika, and all that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and one of the sales guys that works there realized what game was it, like and it was on their computer, like I don't know how it ended up there,
Right.
but like my god, like they shut everything down so quickly, all
Oh,
the computers, everything, like
like that.
like the whole everything, like because it's a it's against the law to have that at all, like
Oh,
like you can't have any Nazi symbols, like any of that
yeah.
stuff, like and that was like I was like, wow, what's happening
Okay.
here? I didn't even speak German, like so, like that was like I felt lost,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, I think this is a good way to end it, but we will continue the discussion some other time. I would like to invite you one more time so that we can explore other experiences. But for today, I'm really, really appreciative of the fact that you made some time
uh,
to be part of this conversation. And just like you said, you travel to some other place, just be ready for some shocks. Be also ready to accept the fact that this is the way they live their lives. That is the main thing about this forum.
that's it. Like, you just gotta be open minded. And I mean, like
Yes.
you're talking about soccer, like, like went to for the World Cup in Russia
Yeah.
and had completely different expectation of Russia being like group, gray,
Yeah.
loony, those kind of things. But actually I was quite surprised that, it was way more modern, really
Yeah.
nice. Sometimes when you go places, it's important to be open minded and, you know, just
Correct.
like,
I I
become part of the culture.
I really, really endorse what you have just said. Just be open-minded because that is not your original place of abode. Okay, I want to thank you again for taking part, in this
Thank you for the invite,
conversation.
Mr. Uche.
I really enjoyed it. And one more time, I also enjoy this. Okay,
Welcome. Well, we'll get you on
right,
from
for
Bosnia next time.
For anybody who wants to be part of this, all you need to do is to get in touch. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you live. Just get in touch with me. Cross cultural experiences. Don't forget the S at gmail.com. Cross cultural experiences at gmail.com. Just email me and then we can take it from there. Robert, One more time, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Likewise, and goodbye to everybody.